Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with another The Hunter Call of the Wild video. Now today's video is once again going to be basically a selection of highlights from my Layton map while I have been grinding whitetail, hoping to get the great ones spawn. Now whilst I was at one of my whitetail zones looking around to actually see where they were, I picked up a max weight estimate track for an elk, and I thought I'd chase it and just see if it actually was a level 5 or if it was just a level 4, and it was a level 5. Now, what I decided to do, because he just wouldn't stop running, was to reset the time and go back to the area where I'd actually found his tracks at elk drink time and see if he was drinking there, and he actually was. And I thought he looked pretty big, but I didn't expect this guy to be as big or as special as he actually is. So I'm just so thrilled to actually have this guy in my lodge, and you'll see why in a minute. Something I quickly want to mention while this is playing is that the whitetail are, in my opinion, still extremely broken. They're better than they were before in terms of they are going to their zones. However, their respawns seem to be all kinds of out of whack. Like, I will shoot a couple of bucks from a zone and they won't respawn in that zone. They'll respawn somewhere else on the map. And I can have no idea where they are, and the zone will become doe only for, well, almost permanently, and then I'll shoot one doe, and then they still won't come back, and then I end up shooting another and another until the zone basically goes away because there's no animals there anymore. And so then I have to go and find a new zone. So it's making grinding whitetail a lot harder than grinding any other species is. So it's interesting trying to grind and get a lot of bucks down when finding bucks in and of itself is kind of a challenge. So I'm working with it, and I seem to be getting a lot of good spawns off my Layton map, so I'm gonna just keep going with it. And this guy was one of those respawns. As you can see, he is max weight at 500 kgs, and he has a massive trophy score of 413.40. Now, I've been told that this is one of the biggest elk that is out there, and I am really pleased to actually hear that. And he's got such a cool rack. I really love those back tines. I think it looks really awesome. And, I just can't believe how big he was. I wasn't expecting him to be this big. I thought he looked big, but not this big. I was taking so many screenshots when I actually killed him and I saw that max weight pop up. I've never killed a max weight elk. And like I said, this guy must have just been from one of the elk I randomly shot whilst running around trying to find zones. And this guy appeared. I'm just so pleased. Like I said, all the other animals on Layton seem to respawn in the same zone, so if you have a herd of elk bulls and you shoot one of those elk bulls, then another elk bull will spawn the next time you come on your map, sort of thing. But it doesn't seem to be working that way with whitetail, and I know I'm not the only person that's noticed this. And I have had a couple of times groups of whitetail that just seem to constantly wander and not go to a drink zone, so it's a bit odd. I've had two of those groups now, and I don't really know why they don't go to a zone. Like, I have waited until the end of the drink time, know where they pass through, and then follow their tracks, and there's no zone, and they just constantly wander. So that was interesting. However, at one of the zones that I actually had respawns working for a little while, this zone is now reducing how much it actually respawns bucks. I think the last time I went there it only had one. But when I went here after a couple of respawn runs, it actually had a decent sized buck and a little piebald. So that was a really nice find, and it was nice to actually see the spawns in that zone working. Now, you will have seen my dog Hubert there. He is now fixed and he is max level for everything, which is really nice. However, I have actually stopped using him, and you'll not see him in much of this video, as the dogs will delete tents and structures from your map. So every time you close the map, you'll get a notification saying a beaver has felled a tree on your structures and they have been returned to your inventory. And when I'm trying to grind whitetail, I found that I had a lot of zones that weren't close to any outposts or anything where I could run very quickly. So I decided that I would opt to put him back in the kennel for now and have some tents and tripods to try and maximise basically how I can grind these whitetail, even though having the tents and tripods isn't always the most useful thing in the world anyway, when the zones seem to die after a couple of runs, which is really, really sad. But I'm working with it, like I said, and I'm getting a lot of really good stuff off Layton, and I'm really pleased with it. Something else I've been doing is, as I've been going along, I have just been shooting rabbits and whatever else I can find just to reduce hunting pressure around the whitetail zones. And all of that shooting of those jackrabbits has paid off, and I finally found my second level 3. So after that first level 3, this was actually the day after I posted that video with my first ever level 3 jackrabbit, I actually got a second one to spawn, which was pretty awesome. It's not the level 3 whitetail I'm looking for, but it's a level 3 jackrabbit, so I will take that. And yeah, I'm really pleased to be getting more of those guys for the lodge, because there's a lot of small game plaques and pedestals that need filling, and I really like the look of the jackrabbits on those spots, so I'll take as many level 3 jackrabbits as Layton can throw at me. And like I said, I'm really enjoying actually being back on Layton and getting some trophies that I've never had before, and stuff like I've had diamond elk, but never a max weight elk. So it's really nice to be getting those kind of things as well, even if whitetail aren't quite working the way that I think is intended, because I don't think they're meant to do the kind of things that they're doing. But I have submitted a ticket about that, and I like I said, I know I'm not the only one who's finding that. I've been speaking to a few people, and it is a really interesting one, because I don't, like I said, I don't think it's meant to work like that. But anyway, we'll see what kind of comes of that, I guess. But I'm still loving it, and I'm still really enjoying playing Layton. And yeah, a nice sized diamond jackrabbit as well at 6.8. I was kind of pleased to actually get one that was bigger than my first one, which is the way I like it to go. To get bigger and bigger ones is always nice. And then right outside one of the outposts, I spotted a level 5 blacktail. Now, he looks big, but in comparison to everything else I'd been seeing on my map, but I was kind of sure he was going to troll with that rack. I didn't remember what score they were meant to have, so I couldn't tell from the score estimates whether he was going to troll or not, but he definitely had to go down because of being max level, and there was also a max weight estimate for there, so I wanted to try and get them both. And I have gone back to using the M1 for grinding whitetail, as I find it's really good on those follow-up shots when I'm trying to take bucks. When I'm just trying to get rid of zones because they've become doe only, I do tend to use the 300 just to drop animals in their tracks if I can't be bothered tracking them. And if it is just a doe, I don't really mind using the 300 on it. But if there's a couple of, max weight estimate bucks, I kind of like getting the gold out of them, so I'll use the M1. But that's really the only case. And having the M1 has been really useful for cases like this where dropping 2 animals was what I wanted to do. And I was really pleased that I actually managed to get both of those bucks and drop them within a couple of meters of where they were actually stood. So I was really happy with that. But when I saw him on the ground, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's going to be a troll. And sadly, he was just 176.60 when 177.50 is diamond. So he was quite a close troll, but a troll nevertheless. And this was one of my whitetail zones that did something weird where it went away and then it came back, and then when it came back it had this level 3, which was such a big troll. Like, I know now what the whitetail scores are when I'm looking at them, and I know what's going to be a diamond from the trophy score estimate, and clearly he is not. And yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking, but also good in a way to see that a level 3 had actually spawned, and it kind of showed that I must be doing something right, even though it is a bit of a weird situation with the whitetail at the minute. I must still be doing something kind of correct if I'm getting rares and at least decent level 2s and or level 3s to spawn. So I'm happy with how that seems to be working as much as I possibly can be. There are a couple of other issues that I've run into currently in Call of the Wild, and they're nothing game breaking, but they are interesting, and I want to talk about that now so that when it pops up in the video, you know why that's included in there, just because I'd be interested if it's happening to anyone else. So at the end of this video, I've included a clip where I shot at a whitetail doe, and I shot into her neck, and the shot has registered as hitting her in the tailbone, which is completely bizarre. And I've had it on more than one occasion now. I had it on a pig where I shot it and it was all 4 feet on the ground, and I took a shot. I think it was walking or standing still, but not running as it actually showed on the harvest screen, because on the harvest screen it showed it had its 2 front feet on the ground and its 2 back feet in the air, sort of really in the mid animation of a run, and it showed that I'd hit it in the back foot on the harvest screen, even though the blood said vital organ blood. So there's a couple of weird hit registration things going on at the minute, I think, but it's not actually affected me when I've actually shot anything big at the minute, so that's good. And of course there is the 400-meter problem that's still going on at the minute. So if you shoot an animal and it runs out of your render, it goes out of that 400 meters, then it will become invisible, and that is really hard to then actually locate them. Slightly easier with the dogs, but even the dog I found struggled to get it. It went to the end of the track and then just stopped. It didn't bark and actually let you know it found something, it just went to idle. So I got kind of confused thinking, oh, maybe this isn't the end of the trail, and then realised it had gone slightly out of my render and what I had to do with that. So that's interesting, so don't let anything go outside of 400 metres. It's not too hard as long as you sneak in to about 150 metres and you get a double long shot. You should be okay to actually keep everything within the render distance. So it's not too game breaking, but if you do fast travel, or say a Cape Buffalo on Vahonga attacks you and you end up being transported back to a lodge, then if you were more than 400 metres away, you will not be able to see the animal, and you'll be able to claim it if you can find it, but it'll flash up for a second on the harvest screen and then disappear. Now, normally I probably wouldn't include ducks, however this guy was a little bit special as he was a max weight and max score diamond duck, which was pretty cool. And as you will have seen, I shot another duck there, which was actually a leucistic, and rare ducks in Call of the Wild, if you played it for a while, you'll know aren't particularly rare on the rarity scale of rares. However, leucistic mallards are one of the rarer ducks, and they're also my favourite of the rare ducks. I love how leucistics look, and I actually hadn't got one on this account, and I really, really like having them in the lodge, just because I love the colour of their feathers. I think that brown and creamy white colour just looks really nice on a mallard, and it stands out. And when I saw it was a male, I was definitely going to take it and definitely going to put it in the lodge. Even though he was only a silver, it would have been nice to get gold, but I'm still happy always to find a leucistic. It's just nice to see them. Like I said, I think they're one of the prettiest rares in the game, actually. And I know they're not particularly rare, like I said, but I really think they're pretty. Now, I found this guy whilst chasing a herd of whitetail that refused to go to a zone, didn't seem to have a zone. And I shot the does and the bucks out of that all in one go, because I thought, what's the point in having them around if there's no zone? I may as well just take them all down for respawns. And I picked up another max weight estimate elk track, and I thought, I wonder if that's potentially anything big. And the first elk it led me to was just a level 4. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's just a level 4. And then the next time I came back to do the same thing and try and look for more whitetail zones, I picked up this guy's track, and it was this guy's track because the other one had been killed. And yeah, it was a level 5. So there was two really big elk in the same area, and I just assumed I must have clicked off of his track and clicked onto the other one's track and just got confused because it said the same weight, that it was that same elk, and I was really surprised when running around again looking for the zones, because I do always want to find the zones. That's the problem with the wandering groups of whitetail, is I'm trying to find the zones so that I know where my whitetail are drinking. And when I found those wandering whitetail, I just really, really thought that if I tracked them for long enough, I'd find a zone, but it was to no avail. But seeing this guy out grazing kind of made it worth it, running around. And again, it must have been a respawn from an elk I shot just running around, and it just gave a perfect opportunity. That's something I've been doing a lot, is if I see anything that just gives a perfect shot opportunity, as long as it's not near one of my whitetail zones, I will just shoot it, and it's clearly paying off with the amount of diamonds I've got off of this map recently, and I am absolutely loving it. Now, this guy, to me, looked bigger than the elk I shot in the beginning of this video, but he wasn't anywhere near as big, but he's still to me, looks huge. And especially, again, the back tines and the way they curl in, I love that. I think he looks so impressive. Like, that is a rack that I really like, and I actually think that's a really nice looking elk. I know the elk true racks are not always the best in this game, but I really like this guy. And yeah, a 480 kilo, 383 scoring elk. And he is a really nice looking animal in my opinion. Just over Diamond when Diamond is 380.80 and he's 383.30. So just over. So I guess this rack probably can troll, I would guess. So I probably got really lucky actually him being a diamond, and I am really pleased because he looks really good on the wall right next to that giant from the beginning of the video. So Leighton is paying off. It is definitely paying off. Even with the whitetail being weird, and if you're playing Call of the Wild at the minute and you're grinding whitetail or you're just hunting them in passing, would be really interested to hear what your experiences of that have been, because it seems to vary from person to person and some people have been having better luck than others. Now, this clip is the clip I was talking about at the beginning of this video where I had the really weird glitch where the whitetail that I shot in the neck got hit in the tailbone. So you'll be able to see right here that clearly that's not where I shot, and it shouldn't have been where it hit. I've also had a couple of really weird things where I've shot at an animal and it's got no penetration at all. Like, at all. I also had a really weird shot, and I guess it was kind of more luck than judgment, where a bullet managed to thread itself in between the lungs of a black bear and not hit anything except flesh. So either that's a weird hit reg thing, or I just pulled off a shot that I couldn't pull off if I tried. But as you can see, there is some weirdness going on there with the hit registration. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have been hunting whitetail, like I said, please let me know down in the comments what your experience has been. I would be really interested to hear. And thank you very much for being here.